This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
The race for 8 is done and the quarterfinalists are decided. 18 rounds of the URC regular season is done and dusted. But how did we get here and what friends have we lost along the way? I'll be dissecting all of that with my good friends. Let's start the show.
You're listening to United Rugby Rewind.
Good evening, everybody. I am joined by the semi-regulars at this point, Caolan, Ben, and Muhammed.
Hello.
Good evening.
And we are joined by a new guest host, regular host, I should say. Adam, you're on probation, basically. Oh. Adam is here with us. Introduce yourself, Adam. Who do you support? What's your game?
So hi, I'm Adam. I'm an Ulster fan. I used to be really cautiously optimistic. I used to be very optimistic, and now I'm sort of I've been broken up this season by being 12th. But yeah, I love my rugby. I've started watching it since I was about 9. 2011 was my first game, Ireland v France at the Aviva. That was an absolute stormer because it was a World Cup warm-up match. I think Thomas O'Leary was 9, and I always thought that it was going to be somebody else, somebody cooler. But yeah, I started supporting Ulster in 2011, and that was the first season where we got to the European Cup final. So I watched my first away game was that 2012 quarterfinal. So it's quite a nice quarterfinal, quite a nice first away trip to go to. So yeah, I've been supporting Ulster nearly all my adult life anyway, and my teenagers hood and stuff like that as well. But yeah, cheers for having me on, lads.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. And Caolan, would you like to explain why Adam is joining us?
Yeah, so Adam is taking over from my role as that Caolan and chief YouTube comment aggravator something another. No, I'm stepping away because of professional work, I suppose is the formal way of putting it. Hopefully I'll see you back here at some stage, maybe next season, maybe in a few years' time, maybe when Premier Sports ask you to be the number one URC podcast, down the line. That may happen, you never know. But no, I put forward Adam. Adam's a good mate of mine through the podcast. And if you think that you've gotten in someone who's just going to be so nice about the provinces, who's just going to say, they're all great lads, let's hold hands, you've got another thing coming. It's going to be great fun.
Yeah, so you can tell that Caolan's going for professional regions because of the hat. That's coming from me.
Yes, I'm wearing a Munster beret for anyone listening on audio that I got from this is actually a fun story. I got it from a subscriber to my podcast who's seen the picture of me and Craig Casey online after the match, and he was like, that's me photobombing the photo. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this. And he's like, do you want a beret, by the way? I have a load of them. And I was like, why not? So I bought a Munster beret off a lad named Jack who was in La Rochelle with me. So yeah, that is the random things that happen through rugby.
There's nothing better than a hat with a story. Anyway, speaking of the story, let's hear the story now. Let's get the story out. What's the story, I think is the saying. So let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend, in my opinion, was the Friday night fixture. Friday night was a great night of rugby between Munster and Benetton at, where was it? Musgrave Park, Muzzer. 30 points to 21 after a first half, Caolan, that looks like it was getting away from you.
Yeah, no. What a last game to talk about. The first Munster game I talked about when I came on here was Munster Connacht, which was a nail biter, but Munster were actually good that day. In this one, they were pretty average for about 40 minutes. Benetton put them under a lot of pressure on the defensive line. I'm going to take this off actually because it's getting warm. Benetton put Munster under a lot of pressure in this one, but to their credit, Munster, despite lads carrying knocks like Jack Crowley, hence why Craig Casey took a penalty in the best conversion of the season. No two ways around it. I'll get on to Craig in a minute. Munster found the way over the line. They got into the playoffs. It's a huge one. Obviously, we know the storylines about like Peter O'Mahony's last home game and um Stephen Archer and Conor Murray. And obviously, it's been a great 2 weeks for Peter O'Mahony in particular. But just for Munster, just get over the line, get the job done, roll into the playoffs. If the season ended right now, I actually wouldn't mind. It's been a long year. And for the likes of yourself, Hugh, I know you've got, the playoffs, followed by the Lions, followed by Women's World Cup to come up. So you don't really get a break, but it's just the nature of the beast at this stage. Especially with the Scarlets, who are going to go all the way. Let's firmly believe that. The Scarlets are going to go all the way.
Yes.
But no, look, Munster got the job done. That's all you can say. I thought, to their credit, Craig Casey and Jack Crowley were excellent. Again, I've talked about Craig Casey all season. I think the gap between him and Jefferson Park is a lot smaller than people give it credit for. Like, this is a guy who is dragging Munster through games. The one thing you can't really say about Gibson Park because of how Leinster steamrolled so many teams. It was an unbelievable performance, and like it just made me think, like, for all the Lions talk, I know myself and Hugh, we did a podcast for a mate of ours, Danny, predicting the Lions. I said, Craig, you didn't. You went with Thomas Williams. You were right. But it made me think, like, when I seen Craig play this well, and I was just thinking, like, there was like podcasters, journalists, like YouTubers who made like 70-man long lists and had like Jack Van Voorvliet in it and didn't have Craig Casey, a man who's been in the Ireland squad for 5 years, and they'll still talk about Andy Farrell loyalty. Like, I don't know, I'd subscribe to a YouTube account if someone told me that, but oh, that's my tweet actually. But yeah, that's the conversion playing there on YouTube. It was a thing of beauty. Munster will play the Sharks next in the quarterfinal. I'm sure you'll talk about that a little bit later on, but look, it's a win, and a win is a win, and we said that before. I think just finally, because I will have to hop off in a minute. Like, Munster in the playoffs, Leinster in the playoffs, fine, but like, Munster finished 7 places lower, Ulster finished 5 places lower, Connacht finished with a worse record this season. It's the worst provincial season in Irish rugby since the Italian teams joined the league, because it's the first time we've only ever had 2 teams in the Champions Cup rugby. We can talk about Leinster, Northampton, for hours on end, and how, great of a rugby match that was. But again, another disappointment for an Irish team. And even if Munster don't beat the Sharks in 2 weeks' time, it'll be the first time we've only had one semi-finalist since I don't know when. Like, it's a long, long time. You're probably talking 2013 or 2012, maybe, in and around that period. So yeah, it's been a poor season on the whole. Munster finished with 9 wins, 9 losses. Ulster finished with 7 wins. Connacht finished with 6 wins, but finished ahead of Ulster remarkably with bonus points. Yeah, just not great. Like, even I seen a stat there, Ulster scored less than 20 points on 8 occasions this season between Europe and the URC. Connacht have had coaching changes, squad changes, haven't settled on a first team, haven't won a single Interpro. Munster went from first to 6th. It could have been lower. They could have missed out on Europe altogether for the first time ever. They had coaching changes as well. They've major squad upheaval. Leinster, so much pressure on them now because they haven't got over the line in Europe and failed in such a big spot. The Irish team suffered their biggest Six Nations loss in so many years when they lost to France in Dublin. It has been just a really turgid season for Irish rugby. And I don't take any joy in it. Like, I want to see 3 provinces in the quarterfinals and 3 provinces in the semifinals every single year. It's not necessarily possible, but look, it is what it is. And I do hope that we see Munster and Leinster win. Obviously a Scarlet story would be great, but like, I am Irish and I do want to see Munster and Leinster in the final in the URC to kind of prep up the season. But yeah, no, I think when the only positive is the Lions squad, and I'm sure Ben will have comments on that Lions squad a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
When that's the only thing that you kind of have going for you this year, it's been a bit of a dab squid. But look, Munster are true. I'm sure, they're not too unfamiliar with South Africa and winning down there. They're not going to fear it. They have a certain young Edwin Adogbo back as well, which is really exciting for us Munster fans. But yeah, no, look, season is done for for 2 teams. Don't know how many weeks left for the other 2 teams, and yeah, I suppose that's all I have to say. I will pop off, lads. It has been a pleasure for the last God knows how many episodes we've done at this stage. More than 25, I think it's fair to say. It has been a pleasure. So thanks to Ben, to Hugh, to Lee, to Alan, to Adam, to Muhammad, to everyone. From that, Caolan, I'm going to sign off now. Good luck, lads.
Bye,
All the
that
best.
Caolan.
Sayonara.
Bye, guys.
That's it.
Right. Thank God that's over with. Right.
Leinster fans, unless Adam fills the gaps, efficiently, will be delighted about that.
All right, lads. So finishing up on the Benetton Munster game then. So like I said, I felt like Benetton had the better of it in the first half, I'll be honest. I thought they were the much better team. They had 4 line breaks in the first 10 minutes, it felt like, and you thought, oh, there's one side that's clearly better here. But I don't know, Adam, like just a disappointing end to a disappointing season for Benetton.
Yeah, it has been really disappointing for Benetton. I really have enjoyed seeing Benetton progress. And ever since, I think they've just been on an upward trajectory, but it's this season as well. It's also for the Italian teams. I know that Caolan said about the Irish teams, but the Italian teams also underperformed in a sense that we know how good Benetton can be. There's a way that I think it's been a weird season in general. Everyone was beating everyone, so just sort of where they all sort of line up at the end. But I think Benetton were very unlucky to miss out on playoff places.
The difference this year's bonus points is as simple as that. Like Edinburgh,
yeah.
We tripled ours from 5 to 15, and we won 3 more games last season, and we've ended up, in 7th, bizarrely. But it's the bonus points. I think it comes down to that. And I know we discussed yesterday in the chat whether that's a fair way of calculating how teams land on the log, but yeah, 4 to 5 points over 4 or 5 games in the season is quite a substantial proportion of extra points.
I'll use it as a segue now to kind of talk about it, because Edinburgh have gotten into 7th into the playoffs, winning 8 games, whereas Benetton have missed out winning 9. And like you said, it's all because of those bonus points. I think Edinburgh got
we had the most, along with 15 joint most with I think Sharks or
Let's have a look at the
Glasgow maybe got 15 as well, I think, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There was 3 teams that got 15 bonus points.
Yeah. Glasgow.
Whereas Benetton, when they lost. Like they either won narrowly or they got absolutely battered. So there's kind of a debate there of who kind of deserves it more, because Benetton, like I said, have got the better record, but a minus 85 points difference to Edinburgh's 64. Like,
it's a big swing. It's a 140 point swing there. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of feel for the Italian teams though, because I would have liked them to have at least had one team in. Obviously, Zebre are very much rebuilding, even though they throw the ball around quite well, and they are entertaining to watch. But I was kind of hoping Benetton would sneak in somewhere so they can get some sort of Italian representation. The thing about Munster though is that obviously I want to know if there's any major injuries coming after this game. Looking forward to the quarterfinal, but more directly, I wouldn't be too down if I was a Munster supporter, considering the quality of the squad and the fact that they're getting this new manager in with because it's like a freshness to it. And every time you get a New Zealand manager with that kind of pedigree, there's a bounce and then there's sort of like a focus. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, they got those 2 guys recently from Leinster. They've played quite well, Barron and Mullen. And I would be cautiously optimistic if I were them. They got a good squad. Let's see what they can do next season. Their season's still going, and people have been asking me today. Obviously, I prefer to play Munster over Stormers, but I still don't think the Munster game is going to be that easy anyway. So anything could happen.
No, we'll talk about that another time, but I couldn't pick a winner of that. So let's talk about Edinburgh Ulster then. So Ben, bringing you in first as the support of the team who won. I was watching other games for this, so it felt like it was kind of close for a while, and then I checked back and it wasn't close anymore.
It was close. Probably it was 14-0, wasn't it? Top of my head, very brief. With Darcy Gray went off, deliberate knock-on, yellow card, and a penalty try was awarded. I think that made it 14-0 from memory. And then after that, Ulster scored 3. Did they score 3 points in the second half, or try in the second half, and that was it? I think off the top of my head, very late on. Due Postlethwaite scored. It was actually quite a good try, to be honest. But it was just one of those games for Ulster where we just absolutely demolished them second half. 7 tries. I think it goes back. This is where it happened. It's getting that 2 points in Parma a couple of weeks ago when Cammy Scott nailed that very difficult conversion quite similar to Craig Casey's on Friday night. Way out on the touchline, weather wasn't great, and he slotted it, and that's turned a 1-pointer into a 2-pointer. That's ultimately been why we've been able to finish up 7th. But there seems to be a renewed drive in that Edinburgh side. The back three, in particular, on Friday, Watson, Muncaster, and Magnus Bradbury were absolutely unbelievable. Jamie Ritchie came on for his final appearance at the Hive Stadium. Obviously, going to be very sad to see him go. He's off to France. But if Perpignan stay up, it'll be there. Otherwise, he might have to go somewhere else if they go down to Pro de Deux. Because I can't imagine him wanting to play in second tier French rugby if he still wants to get called off the Scotland side. Magnus Bradbury was unbelievable on Friday night. He's matured into a really powerful back rower. It was a little bit awkward in coming back from Bristol. He picked up a red card, sort of, I think, one of the group games or maybe one of the early sort of league games around January, February time off the top of my head, and he obviously was banned for a little while and then came back in. But I think our back row has started motoring a bit more, and I think that does give me some cautious optimism going to Pretoria to play the Bulls. We beat the Bulls at home.
Hang on. We've got a rare case of URC photo prop with a prop.
It's
And
Harry
I don't mean a
Patterson.
prop like a front row forward. I mean like an accessory.
Not the fire extinguisher. It's the aviators.
Yeah, it's the sunglasses.
Yeah.
A bunch of the Ulster ones on the weekend were holding basketballs, and I was just like, Balakoon and Laurie were holding basketballs, and I was like, I don't know if you know about Mike Laurie's height, but he's like
he's small. Yeah.
He's a wee lad, like he is a wee lad. But like I was like, that's not we've got the worst squad photos, I think. And we're just looking through it now, and I'm like, oh no.
Balakoon basketball.
Yeah, basketball. James Hume wasn't even there. Look, he's in the old kit. There's Rob Little as well.
I know, some of them are in old kit. When is that kit even from? That's from like 4 years ago.
It is, yeah. Well, that was the last time he played for us, and then he Dave Shanahan.
Dave Shanahan.
Golf. Got a golf club.
Yeah, but
There you go.
he might as well have been golfing this season because he just hasn't played, and he's still on the payroll. I think for us, it summed up our season. We don't have a second half in us, and you can't win games if you don't have a second half. We're quite sluggish. We've got a couple of players leaving in the squad as well. It's about as dead rubber as it felt. Like it was a strong team for Ulster on paper. Don't get me wrong, but we're really underperforming. There's a big issue at Ulster. Like we lost our defense coach left, but I was probably pleased with that because our defense wasn't great. So Willie Falloons came in as a defense coach. He's trying to inject something in at the minute, but I just think for Ulster this season we don't know. There's no identity forming at all. I remember Ulster of old we were like the plucky underdogs, and we used to win against big teams. We used to win against French teams in the Champions Cup, and we used to have a great day. But now this Ulster is different. I'm not saying that we don't have the passion anymore. I won't question a player's passion at all, but I just think we're in a bit of an identity crisis. That just needs to be solved for next season. Like we've got a lot of players. Like look at the defense there. Look at the way that Cox's the only one to make a tackle. 3 or 4 missed tackles in the middle of there. I know Darcy Graham's a very good winger, and he was snubbed for the Lions, which I don't understand. But look at even the effort from Jack Murphy. He gets 2 hands on him, but it still doesn't grab. It's something about the experience of this Ulster team. When this season, I'm looking at the back line, for example, we've got promising backs. Jack Murphy, he's only 20. He's still getting there. Zach Ward only getting into professional 15s this year. He's a great sevens player. Postlewaite the same, great player, finding his feet. But we're playing like we have a big pack. I think that's my main issue with Ulster this year, is that we picked and goed against big teams, especially against South African teams with the big massive packs. We just picked and goed, and you almost saw the back line standing there waiting for the ball. Our back line on paper, I'm not saying this is a biased Ulster fan, but should be one of the most exciting backlines in the URC, but we're not because we hardly use them. We're playing like we have a pack full of like the South African, like a pack of South African size. But we don't. We've got quite a light pack, to be honest. We've got Ian Henderson as well. He's only came back from big term injuries, but it's a question that Ulster fans have been saying, especially on Blue Sky, is that Ian Henderson has only played a handful of games in the past 5 odd years. Um, and he's lost a central contract because of that. But he only plays for Ireland. Like he gets fit for Ireland games and then gets injured in the first game back for Ulster. It's not a question of like we should have sort of moved him on in the last 2 years, but you have to think like we're a team with no money. We're getting Augustus in next season, but we're a team with no money. We've got nothing else to come up. We've signed two props. We've signed two props in the week to back up the fact that we've got no props and we're losing Andrew Warwick. We're losing Kieran Treadwell as well, who on his day he was a great operator. He was quick. He used to play wing in high school, and you can tell, but he's about 6'6". So every time he used to make breaks, he used to just go for it. He's an Ireland international as well. You know, we're losing an Ireland international in Kieran Treadwell, but we've hit a low. Have we hit the low? I'm not exactly sure. Next season's going to be rough, but we've got Mark Sexton coming in, the Connacht attack coach. We've got a couple of other lads coming in, but we've got no money. We're not really, we're looking a bit rudderless as well, just in all aspects, and we're sloppy. We're just really sloppy, which is a bit disheartening for an Ulster fan because a couple of years ago we played quite nice rugby when we had Dwayne Peel as our attack coach and Jared Payne as our defense coach. That sort of team should have won a trophy because we didn't know how good we had it with those guys in our setup. And now we're starting to do the rebuild, and we basically have the under 20s coaching team next year. For next season, we have the under 20s coaching team that Richie Murphy used to have. He's brought in all of his lads. He's backing himself. We're backing him. You know, jury's still out, yes, but we're gonna have a really young team next year. But we're building to the future, and if we peak, and we actually build a couple of, if we actually build good depth, you know, we could be challengers in a couple of years. But we've said that for the past I don't know how many years, and it's the first time we're without Europe as well.
And it's the Challenge Cup rugby next season
I
as
just
well.
want to quickly talk about Darcy because obviously I missed out that point. But you know, he was a big middle finger up to the Lions selection side. I think Darcy Graham, he should be a shoe in for that tour. There's maybe a chance he still gets to go, but the three tries he scored, especially the last try, I mean, that was, you know, mercurial back play. Harry Patterson, Wes Houston involved, Matt Curry off the inside, little pass into Patterson, he goes through and Darcy off the back. But Darcy Graham is he's the only winger in the Northern Hemisphere could play the way that he does. And he just offers something different, and I don't understand why he isn't going. Stephen Ferris, and I don't particularly like him as a commentator. I don't think he's particularly biased or neutral, objective to his comments, but he seemed to suggest that Andy Farrell would have based Darcy Graham's non-selection off the Bath performance in the semi-final. It's got to be more than that, and if it is more than that, I'd like to know what it is. Because the Bath performance aside, he didn't see much of the ball that day. It was quite a narrow game, but he has been in imperious form all season. He's injury free. He's probably playing the best rugby he has done the last couple of seasons.
Those semi-finals being what, less than a week before the squad was announced. I kind of don't. I struggle to believe that there were many calls made off the back of those games. To be honest,
Pollock would have been gone from a bowler to a certainty. I think on that game from the Saints Leinster game. I think he was probably going anyway, but that would have sealed the deal for him. But I can't think anyone else being sort of on the maybe to a not or a definite to a not off that weekend. But Graham should be there. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
I wouldn't be too on an Ulster point. I wouldn't be too down on the team though. I mean, when something I forgot to mention when we recorded last time was that Cormac Zichuku had a really good game against the Sharks until the last 30 minutes when he seemed to be exhausted. Mm-hmm. So if you have guys like him next season, Van Ackok, Postlethwaite, Big Stu McCloskey, Stockdale, Murphy. The question I have for Adam is, how has Aidan Morgan actually done since he's came over from New Zealand?
So Aidan Morgan is an interesting one because he started most games this season. Like he started most of the games at the start of the season. He looked really snappy. He looked really like he was up for it. His height, I didn't realize how small he was until like we actually played him. But he's not been in the squad much or at all since Jack Murphy's came in. I think with Murphy being an actual out and out 10, I'd say Aidan Morgan. I've said this at this during the season as well. I feel like Aidan Morgan would make a really good fullback. He's snappy, he's quick. He doesn't really kick much. Like I didn't see any of his he didn't do any place kicking for Ulster. And he wears his heart on his sleeve. But as I said, like it's sort of like the Josh Ioane situation at Connacht. It's like has he had time to try and climatize to it all? But as I said, he's not particular standout season, like not a particular standout signing. I think he was just an opportunity that came up that he was Irish qualified. He was a fly half, and we needed one. But going into next season, we've got three fly halves in Aidan Morgan, Murphy, and Humphreys. And we've got a couple of guys coming up from the academy. I did hear in the middle of the season that we could have signed Billy Burns again. But, I think with Aidan Morgan, he's an interesting one. And I think he plays really nice rugby, but it's like really nice, like Southern Hemisphere rugby that you can't really play on a cold, wet night in Belfast. But as I said, like I don't think he's played enough for me to actually make a really good judgment of him because Jack Murphy's came in. He's only 20 years old, and he's took that jersey and he made it his own. Yeah, like I know we're losing, and I know that he might be a bit lapsed in defense, but he's 20 years of age. Like he's only just turned pro. I don't even think he's got a professional contract yet. Like we need to like look at it like that. And I thought as well that Aidan Morgan's got one more year left in his contract, and normally that would smoke a bit of fire under someone like that. But the jury's still out. I didn't see enough of him to be really like whoa. Even the European games.
Yeah. No, well, like I think, like you said, the Challenge Cup rugby for Ulster next season, I think, just disappointing because it looks like you might have turned it around when you got a lot of injuries back, but it just kind of fizzled out, didn't it? So moving on to the final game of Friday evening, then the last one that had real bearing on the playoff positions was Stormers versus Cardiff. I thought this was going to be an entertaining game, and it was. It had a bit of everything, a bit of drama, a bit of controversy, plenty of tries, plenty of skill on show. 5 tries to 4. And Muhammad just Stormers again do it the exciting way. This is one of the so I was a Stormers fan in this match, not because I hate Cardiff, but because Cardiff losing helps the Scarlets, and I'm a Scarlets fan. So I wanted Stormers to win for that reason, and it was stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It was weirdly back and forth. Stormers obviously had most of the game. Yeah, it's also I found it interesting, Dobson's selection. I don't know who was injured and who was sort of rotated and stuff, but they still got through it. Cardiff actually did quite well. Cam Winnett did well. The Welsh teams of the games that I watched didn't get run over in terms of scrums as people might assume they would. They actually held their own to an extent. Yeah, Mani Libok's passing was really good. I can't believe he's been out for some time now, but he looked really sharp. He wasn't kicking Damien Willemse was kicking. The kicking is always a big talking point with Mani Libok. I think Suleiman Hudsenberg showed his quality. I mean, it was his 50th game for the Stormers or Stormers and Western
Hang on a
Province.
minute. How is Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu top for clean breaks with 4?
He came on quite early in the second half. Did he come after 50 minutes for the I can't remember.
In the second half, yeah.
But still, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think the game also opened up as well for him, and he did quite well. And then obviously he did the kick that denied Cardiff a point. Forwards wise, I think it was an interesting game because it was also possibly the last game for a lot of Stormers players in front of the DHL Cape Town Stadium fans. I mean, some of these players could come back, but it's probably definitely the last game for Skaran Tobeni. He was quite a stalwart. He's just a good player, but he just had horrible injuries. If I look at the sort of prop and front row forward backup the Stormers actually had on the bench. It's Karan Debeni, Vernon Matongo, and Sandy. So these, obviously I can't pronounce these guys' names, so they're not that prominent. Joseph Dueba's leaving for Exeter Chiefs. We've mentioned that before already. Nathan Fisher had a solid game. Yeah, I'm impressed with how the Stormers have put things together towards the end. In the semi-final, they will not have Damien Willemse because of his sort of mistimed tackle. I don't think it was necessarily malicious, but it was a deserved red card. So, like
I think
Dobson
that's going to be
said,
a big miss for them. I think that's
yeah,
going to be a huge impact because I think he was doing a lot of work for Sasha as well. If you look at the
yeah.
passing figures and stuff, he was stepping in to cover for Sasha when Sasha was doing all the fun stuff.
Mm.
The
That
wing as
quarterfinal
well.
defeat of last year,
in the
isn't it?
Yeah.
in the semi-final, he would have definitely played inside center in my opinion, because that's where he's most influential. Yeah.
Yeah. The wingers though, Zass and Hartzenberger, two players. A bit. We'll talk about it when we get onto the Bulls in a minute as well. Who don't get ever spoken about in terms of Springbok call-ups, but seem to be doing the job week in, week out for the Stormers.
Yeah, Little Zas broke through years ago when we were still in Super Rugby, and he looked really, really good. And he was sort of on the fringes of the Springbok setup, but the Springbok setup was a mess back then. Myriad of coaches, not going to go get into that. And then he got a long-term injury, was out for just over a year. Came back, looked okay. Not the same player that broke through. His contract then ran out at the Stormers, and he took up a contract for about 2 years with the Sharks. Played okay, but not great. Went back to the Stormers and had seemingly got his form back. Suleiman Hutzenberg is a baby bok, I believe. He's from sort of a Cape Town Hutzenberg sort of family legacy here. His older brother Yaya was quite highly rated, but he was a forward, but he never really broke through. He's also got an older brother Munir who plays for Griquas, who plays quite well. So he's the and then they've got an older brother who also played rugby. So they're actually from a neighborhood called Mannenberg, which is quite interesting as well. So they're sort of like there's a video actually on social media right now with the reporter actually asks Suleiman Hutzenberg after this weekend's game about the significance of him coming from area that struggles with socioeconomical issues a lot, but him and his brothers have sort of built their way out of sort of made something of themselves using sport and things like that. So that's a very good video. I encourage everybody to go watch that. And yeah, everybody I know who's played against and or with their older brothers, obviously talk a lot about his older brother Munir, who's at Griquas, and Suleiman quite a bit. So he's quite young, whereas Zas is the older sort of veteran. But I was looking before we started recording at the Stormers depth chart in terms of their squad, and yeah, the fact that they can call on these guys and then still have Sibelo Sinatla not even in the match 23 today, and then Ben Lauder's there, but obviously he's going to leave at the end of the season. It's very envious because the thing what Stormers are able to do, even though they were quite inconsistent this season and they made it into the top 8, is that when the guys who hadn't played that much actually get into the team, they still play at a high level. Whereas often with the Sharks, when our guys who hadn't played that much, say like our Plenke, get into the team, they tend to struggle. It's almost like they need a game or 3 to get up to speed. So yeah, well done to the Stormers. Yeah. So yeah, well done, Stormers.
Cool, well wrapped up. From a Cardiff point of view, I think they were in the game. I don't think they were ever dead and buried, and they got another 4-try bonus point, which is their thing, and it's kind of sparks a small debate about how, again, another team a bit like, well, not a bit like Edinburgh, but a team that's kind of league position was inflated by their bonus points, and they've got a big negative points difference, but were well in the hunt for playoffs because they kept scoring 4 tries, and that kind of game theory of if you just put everything into attack and you always get 4 tries, you're never coming away from a game empty-handed. So I think
home game against Glasgow epitomised that then, because they scored what 30 odd and Glasgow scored, I don't know, it was 50 something to 30, wasn't it? And yeah, I think you're dead right on that.
So I think how will Cardiff look back on this season as kind of an opportunity missed, or will they go, no, it's about fair where we are? I'm not sure. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed. I think them losing 3 games to Connacht if you throw in the Challenge Cup as well. It will probably rankle them a little bit, and just the kind of waiting for them to take the next step, really. And there's a bit of a question mark about what's going to happen with their coaching because of the whole Wales situation, whether any of their coaches are going to go to Wales. We don't know. So I think Cardiff can be disappointed having been in the playoff spots for so long, but I don't know. I feel like it's ultimately a fairish reflection. I think mid-table just missing out is kind of where they are. But again, it's unlucky because on another day. Anyway, before we go on and talk about any more games, I just want to remind people that if you are enjoying the show so far, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. We'd love to get to 2,000 subscribers. That's our next milestone. Of course, we're coming to the end of this irregular URC season, but we'll be back in full strength next season. And of course, we've got the playoffs to go in between now and then. Anyway, if you are listening on audio formats, make sure to give us a 5-star review and share a link with a friend because that really helps us to grow. All right, then, let's now talk about, I'm going to use host's privilege and talk about Sharks Scarlets. 12 points to 3, proper rugby. And Muhammed, what even is there to say about this game? I think that probably what we ended up getting was the result that suited both best. Muhammed.
Has he frozen? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not moving.
I'm fine.
But
I can hear you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Carry on.
Adam was talking earlier about the fact that Ulster. I'm trying to see the team here. The fact that Ulster don't have a second off in them, where we don't have a first off. So, but I guess it's more important to have a good second off than it is to have a good first off. It was back and forth. I was having nightmares of losing to the Leinster second and third team because it wasn't necessarily we weren't running away with the game.
Leinster thirds, I'll have you know.
Somehow we lost, and then the Leinster players tried to kill themselves by head flipping into a tiny pool. Oh my god! But yeah, Apelele Fassi stepped up. I will say in these last 2 games with Jordan Hendricks injured, the much sort of maligned Sia Masuku of this, I guess he set the bar very high for himself last season, and in this season, a lot of the fans were a bit disappointed in what we got from him this season. He played really well. Yes, he went off injured in this game, but up until that point, he actually played quite well. And Apelele Fassi, there were articles this week saying there's no recognized flyer from the bench, so who's going to play that? And then Plumtree was saying, well, Fassi will step up. I personally thought that Bradley Davids would come on and scrum off, and then Jaden Hendricks would then just shift to 10. But yeah, Plumtree knows better than I do. And Fassi played really well. Jao Penke came on and played fullback. That can at times be a bit of a risk. He's a good player, but like Edwin Cater, maybe not at times URC quality. Yeah, we grinded the win. It wasn't necessarily, it wasn't at all convincing. And then at the end, we got Fassi to kick. What's also interesting is that Eben Etzebeth was captain, and early in the first half, there were 2 opportunities where it's like a penalty right in front of the poles. So it's not like a question of is it 3 points or not, because I mean kicks can be missed, that type of thing. And then Etzebeth decided to go for the line, to take the line out, which I understand. You're the home team, you want to sort of set a standard. You don't want to let the Scarlets off. But I must say, I haven't watched a lot of Welsh rugby this season in the URC, but Scarlets, especially their first team, maybe not so much when the bench came on, they played really well. I mean, Blair Murray played well. They really gave us a game. There were sections where you guys nearly broke through and got a try. Yeah, I'm glad to get the points, and obviously then I was even if we won, it wasn't a guarantee that we would get third place. That's why I was watching the Glasgow game so attentively. Plumtree played well. Also, Scarlets did some stuff, especially that line out in the first half where we threw the line out too far in, and that meant the Scarlets player could move around and then sort of smother the maul, that type of thing. And then the Sharks players, which is classic South African rugby team, where they go like, is that allowed? That so frustrates me, and that's sort of an aspect of what we used to have in the Springboks, where under the previous coaches, especially Heineke Meyer, and then after him as well, where Springboks would often get just sort of like caught out with the rules that the opposition, especially New Zealand, were like, no, you can't do that. This is part of the rules, that type of thing. So go for the Scarlets. I understand why they are in the knockout stage. Yeah. Tino Mavasere didn't have such a good game, but he's a good player. He's going to have to step up with Venter leaving. And a big concern for me is that I looked at our loose forward stock this season, not even next season. And as far as I can see, Vincent Chituka, who got invited to the Springbok alignment camp, good for him. He earned it. Vincent Chituka is our only like normal, what we would think of as a blindside flank. Everybody else is an 8 or open sider. So that's a concern for me. So yeah, not everybody had a good game. Andre Estesen actually didn't have such a great game, but still played
He
well.
got absolutely smashed by Sam Costello, the smallest guy on the pitch at one point, which I really enjoyed.
I bet, yeah.
But from a Scarlet's point of view, I think we played. It's mad to say that you only scored 3 points and we played decent. I think defensively we played very decent. I think we looked the more likely to score a try at times with breakaways and things. Passes just didn't go to hand. I don't know whether it's just the humidity in Durban or someone put the sprinklers on the grass too much or something, and just no one could hold on to a ball. I don't know what's gone on there, but a weird game from that point of view. I would kind of wanted it to finish 0-0 because I wanted to analyze a 0-0 for 2 hours. But yeah, apart from that, all I'd say is Joe Roberts, our outside centre, 4 clean breaks, 6 defenders beaten. He's really found form towards the end of this season. He's playing very well, and for me, he's hands down the best 13 in Wales. It just depends what kind of strategy the Wales national coach wants to take on. But we haven't got time to talk about that. And otherwise, I'm just delighted that the Scarlets are not only in the playoffs, but also in the Champions Cup as well, because I think we've been a very decent team this season. And I think this was the reward. And I use the word decent deliberately. I think decent, not amazing, but good. And I think that's kind of the level that you want to see to get into the playoffs.
The only thing I'll quickly say here is that last minute pillar by Fassi has completely changed the final 8, because obviously Scarlets within 7 at that point, they'd be going down to Pretoria to play the Bulls, and we would have got Leinster away. And purely from a selfish perspective, I did want to go to Dublin to have a day out of the Aviva, early flight back, early flight out, late flight back to see us try and play Leinster. And maybe there would have been a chance for us out there, because a lot of those players will be looking at the Lions tour a couple of weeks' time. So it may have been a good time to play them. Obviously the Leinster Glasgow game yesterday was pretty uneventful, pretty low scoring affair as well. So yeah, but
well, let's speak about that briefly now then. So like you say, it's uneventful enough, 13 points to 5. I didn't catch much of this. I did have it kind of on and off, and there just didn't seem to be much happening. I guess it's not as bad of a defeat as I thought Glasgow might get, but it felt like both teams had their minds on something else.
Well, Tuipulotu's back. I think that was the key thing with Glasgow. Obviously, he needs to get a good run in. They've got the Stormers at home, which is a repeat of last year's quarterfinal, I think, at Scotstoun, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Obviously, Manny Libbok had probably his worst ever game in any coloured rugby shirt, whether it's Springbok club or franchise province. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting repeat of last season. But I think just getting Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones back in, they're both on that plane to Australia, just getting them to work. George Hall came on. I think he played quite well. Again, that Leinster side, they didn't really have anything riding it. I guess it's one of those games when no one wants to get injured. You're in the top 4. The only reason Glasgow might want to win is because they could obviously have gone past. I think they could have potentially finished 2nd or 3rd, couldn't they? If results had contrived, but there was no way that the Bulls were going to lose to Zebre at home. So it was a 1% chance of that ever happening, if not lower. So yeah, I think it's just getting through that game injury free and having a go at each other, because if they win their games, they'll be playing again against each other in 3 weeks' time, won't they? So yeah, we'll see a 4th game of the season, or 3rd or 4th game of the season with them involved. So yeah, I think it might be a dress rehearsal for a pretty interesting semi-final in 3 weeks' time.
I was actually watching this game very closely because I really wanted 3rd place. So
I think
were you impressed?
Yeah, I mean, both teams look good to me. Both teams look better than the Sharks. I think we also need to talk about the sort of extreme criticism of Sam Pendergrast. I mean, like I've seen this movie 1,000 times now, especially in South Africa in terms of fly-offs or like good players. People talk them up too soon. I mean, Johan Goosen's literally about to retire soon, probably. And the same thing happened to him. Heineke Meyer picked him when he was way too young. Not necessarily he was very skillful, but like he was incredibly thin. He was frail. New Zealand rugby was playing like we do now with our brains and stuff like that. And all they did was is use Sam Whitelock as an edge forward, and they attacked our line in our 22. And the guy between Sam Whitelock and a try was 19 or 20-year-old, 85 kilogram Johan Goosen. And then Johan Goosen was out for like a year and a half. So the thing I'm trying to get to, though, is that over and over again, especially at fly off, but in other sporting codes as well, we get young phenoms breaking through. We overhype them. We don't stay calm. And then when they like have a bad game,
they get picked
or
apart.
like have a really poor game, it's like the pendulum swings the other way. It's like, oh, Sam Pendergrass was never any good. Like I haven't really seen this happen that much with Pollard. I think he manages his career a little better, and maybe the coaches helped that. But with the I still think Sam Pendergrass is a good player. Yes, he's got a lot to do in terms of his defense. But yeah, I was watching it super close because I wanted Leinster to win so that Glasgow would lose, and then we could continue to be in third place. Yeah.
I think
Also, Carl Rowe's got an incredible. He's got the best mullet in the URC. Yeah.
Business at the front, party at the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
much like the Aussie rules players. Every single one of them in the AFL's got a haircut like that. So
I can't speak.
Yep.
I've got a kind of mullet going on at the minute.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Bring it to
No, we can't call that a mullet.
Kind of like it. But yeah, with Prendergast and the overhype thing, I think as an Irish fan, this year, it's really made me. It's like we're a victim of our own success. I think this year being probably, as Caolan said before, the most unsuccessful year for provinces, in a good 30 odd years. Certainly in my lifetime, I think what we have in a big issue is overhyping players like that. Because we will put everything into that player until they break. It's happened with Ross Byrne when he first broke through. It happened with Harry Byrne, his brother, and when he broke through. Sam
I
Prendergast,
remember the Harry Byrne hype. That was weird.
the Harry Byrne hype was massive. It happened with Frawley when he decided to play fly half, when they decided to play him fly half, when he made the drop goal. You know, I posted on Blue Sky that very cool T-shirt that
Yeah.
I purchased. But I think with the likes of Leinster fans is that they are in dream world, as I like to call it, because Leinster fans are a victim of their own success. And in terms of this year, they'd be like, oh, we didn't win a Champions Cup. That's a null season for them now. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to try and push for the URC. But as you said, Muhammed, it's a weird season where these players don't want to get injured. I remember the last Lions tour when Andrew Porter, for example, when he got picked, but he got injured right before the Lions tour. Like players like him, you have to think, like, are they thinking about, oh, I want to be on that plane, I'm guaranteed to be on that plane. Do I just go, I'm gonna win this trophy, I'm gonna push for that? Or in the back of their heads, they're going, there's a Lions tour here that, like, it only happens every 4 years. And Porter is the prime example of how frail that opportunity can be. But yeah, Prendergast, he's got a couple of years he's got a couple of years to like actually get up. We always forget in Ireland that he's only 20. He's only 20. We've got Jack Crawley as well. We've got loads of fly halves around the provinces. Well, I say loads of fly halves. I only said about 3 from Ulster, but we have a nice system going through, but there's something wrong about it. And I think pushing a player like Prendergast, certainly in media as well, that's not going to help the lads. It's not going to help them at all.
I think the best thing for Prendergast is go on the Irish tour over the summer, fly under the radar. It's apart from people that watch it, it's not going to be covered because obviously the Lions test are going to be on around the similar time. If it's not against the Wallabies, it's against the Super Rugby franchises. And just let him sort of fly under the radar and just get back to basics again, because like you say, there's a couple of quite pivotal things missing with him, which is his defensive nous. We saw he got found out remarkably against Northampton. I think he got found out a couple of times before then, but that semi-final, I think, just epitomised his shortcomings. But he's in his early 20s, and this has been a breakout season for him. You don't finish product at 10 at that age; doesn't happen. And if it has happened, it is the exception rather than the rule. So go on that tour. Whether it's him and Crowley that obviously have the 10 show between them. I just expect it would be, and then just get back to basics and just have a good tour, and then come back flying for next season as the Leinster 10. I think that's it.
It's the perfect tour for him to go.
A few more other things I got from the game is Jimmy O'Brien is really good, and the Leinster having sort of gotten all this criticism of not starting Jody Barrett in the Championship Cup game. Jody Barrett is now starting playing every minute, and he's playing like 110%. Like when he gets the ball, shit happens. So that's incredibly entertaining. And then the other thing that I got out of this game is that Tom Jordan is a flippin' good rugby player. Whoa, I don't know if it's just because he came on in the second half and played against like tired players or something, but when Tom Jordan plays, I'm not saying it's as good as Jody Barrett.
I posted a TikTok where I said that Tom Jordan should have gone ahead of Elliot Daly, and people got all galaxy brain on me going,
he should be going there. And
people were like, oh, well, you see, strokey beard, Elliot Daly's got all the experience and he's got a big left boot. It's like, he hasn't played well for 5 years. Like, what are we doing here? Like, people are trying to like all logic in it and need the experience. Like, he's just Tom Jordan's a better rugby player than he is. Like, what are we doing?
It's TJ over Daly and it's Darcy over Mac. It's as simple as that. And I know that's me with very much my Scottish hat on, but I think if I was an England fan or a Welsh fan or an Irish fan, I'd be saying exactly the same thing, because purely objectively, those two had far better seasons than Daly and Mac Hansen. Mac Hansen's not played a minute of rugby in how long?
He's had a very slow season as well. Like,
has he scored a try this season?
I don't think
Darcy's up there, one of the top try scorers of the season, isn't he? Both internationally and for Edinburgh, I think.
It's when Farrell, we've segued into Lions chat, which wasn't the plan, but when Farrell said, "Oh, there's 2 spots left open for people to prove form and fitness," and everyone's like looking like, Mac Hansen, you've already picked Mac Hansen.
Yeah,
like, is it just he's got a tattoo of you? Is that all this is?
It's very hypocritical to, and it's hard to square that circle of what he said there. I mean, which 2 people is he looking at? Darcy Graham's got nothing to prove. Tom Jordan's got nothing to prove. Are you talking about your son? In which case, he's still injured, and Racing have been, apart from their bizarre win against Toulouse last night, have not had a good season at all. And who else are you thinking at that point? I can't think of anyone else that's not in that side that should be going. Apart from maybe Jamie George, is that someone that maybe takes another hooker with him? But
Blair Murray,
or Blair Murray,
Like, he's got a big left boot. Blair Murray's got a huge left boot. People don't realise. Go on, Adam.
Blair Murray was my choice for a bolter. In one of the podcasts I did earlier, about the Six Nations roundup, because I just think he's a class player. But when you have, as like with Mac Hansen being in the Lions, it was a really confusing one. But you're gonna find out with Andy Farrell in this Lions tour that he's all about cohesion. And I think that's been proven by somebody like Ronan Kelleher, who's second choice for Leinster. I would argue probably third choice for Ireland, still getting in. And Ryan Baird and James Ryan, they're just there for cohesion. It's like, it's so weird. Like, I remember watching the announcement just going, Ronan Kelleher is a Lion, but when you think about the previous Lion hookers that have went by, I'm like, Rory Best struggled in like 2013 to get onto the Lions squad, but you've got Ronan Kelleher, who's on the bench for one of the nations, on the bench for his own team. What's he going to be doing? He's going to be doing midweek games against
that's the thing for me, is like guys like Mac Hansen, guys like Elliot Daly. You're like, if they're not going to be starting, if like Doohan and James Lowe are going to be ahead of them, you're telling me if James Lowe gets injured, then Elliot Daly's going to start a Lions test in 2025 on the wing? Is that what people are telling me? So that's just why I struggle with it. Anyway, we need to move on. Time is against us. So Ben, how are you for time?
I've got 5-10 minutes.
Okay,
I could stretch out.
All right then. So last kind of consequential-ish game for this weekend was Bulls versus Dragons, where the Bulls needed to win to secure second on the log. They were never going to lose, and they did win. Muhammed, I've started calling them the business hour Bulls, because they just in the last few games, they've just started turning up and doing what they needed to do.
Yeah, they're just going through the motions, going through the gears, which is what you want to do. You know you're in the playoffs. You know you're hosting a quarterfinal. You don't want people to get injured, but you don't want to think of that either. So just Johan Goosen's injured. Johannes started. The Bulls pulled ahead. They let the Dragons back in a little, and they pulled ahead again. It's as if the Bulls were just like going through the motions, but like in a very focused manner. We want to get the win. Want to get a five type all 5 points. So and the manner in which they sort of went about the game was very like serious manner. I will say standout performers was like Bernard van der Linde had quite a good game off the bench, but the game was getting stretched at that point. He's off to Bath, 24 years old. Zach Berger, again, good game. Kieran Johannes at fly-off did well, deputizing for Goosen, but he's got Valileru behind him. And Seb de Klerk played quite well again. Yeah, it's like Akker van der Merwe, lots of criticism in terms of his line-out throwing and general play.
I think that's harsh. I think he's a great player.
Yeah. But then because Grobler sort of like putting him under some sort of pressure, that type of thing. Grobler generally starts, but Akker had a good game again. And Hendrik Wessels, the Bulls answer for Sasha Feinberg and Zulu, had a good game again. Maybe not moving around as much. And then obviously Devin Williams and Sidney Gans, that's what the Bulls do quite well. They grind teams out, and then towards the end of the game, when their backline players get off the bench, they use that space to maximize it. So good for the Bulls.
Try this was. Yeah. Ruin Milk here playing 7.
Still, yeah. Interesting stuff there.
I love Marcel Coetzee. I can't say a wrong thing about that man.
He was a stalwart for Ulster,
because he used to be Ulster.
Yeah, well, when he left Ulster, Ulster's pack started to fall apart. I think he was the linchpin in that pack when you were at your best. 2020, when you beat us at Murrayfield, when Ian Madigan nailed that penalty, he was unbelievable that day, if my memory serves me right. And one of the main reasons why you won that game.
He's a lovely fellow as well. He's so down to earth. But yeah, it's just I love watching the Bulls play. I think they're probably my favourites to win the thing if Leinster don't do it. Just because like Marcel is such a likable guy, and I just love the way that they play. They play like Ulster try to play with like a big pack.
Yeah, well, from a Dragons point of view, this game, a lot of fans were predicting a record all-time URC defeat, and I didn't think that would happen just because I didn't think the Bulls would be that up for it, like what we saw with Leinster and Zebra the week before, whereas Leinster were playing. It kind of like it's not about you, the Zebra. Like
they had to get some of the front row. Some of them had to take time off work to get down there, didn't they? Because
so they called in
semi-pros.
Because Newport and Evervale played each other in the Super Rugby Cymru final. So they're the two feeder teams that would normally feed the Dragons.
So it was Merthyr Tydfil they took someone from in the end, wasn't it?
No, they took from Llandovry and Carmarthen Quins. And they had to get time off work to go down to South Africa and play for the Dragons. So it's
not bad, is it?
So it's and look, I think one of them scored a try. I think one of them got a maul try. So fair play. And no, again, Dragons, they've done a lot of recruitment for next season. They need to get their coaching tickets sorted out first and foremost. That's a big priority in my opinion. So they'll just be glad that I've spoken to Jamie from the Dragons pod today, and the name of his podcast is just going to be Thank F That's Over. And like I said, I think the Bulls just doing the business Bulls. They're just a proper team, and they got their players back, most of their good players back. So now they're playing properly again. So I just appreciate them.
It's going to be a good game when we play them because we ran them close down there. We had an opportunity sort of 55, 60 minutes in where it was a turnover on their try line. They ran down and scored a try, and I think we were within 3 at that point. And I think we didn't lose by too many. It was definitely around, I think it was more than 7, maybe less than 10 to 12. And we beat them at home in the cup. And I think there's an opportunity for us there. I think we managed their
mates with Jake White as well.
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like there's a little bit of a rivalry with us and the Bulls. It feels like it's kind of a potential there.
Yeah,
we seem to be. Every game we played them, it's always been close, and I feel like we do have a chance down there. I mean, the weather's going to, be pivotal. Like, it could be pouring down with rain, very cold, up on the high veld that time of season, time of the year. But I think the way we're playing at the moment, apart from this every game, we've really clicked into gear. And I think there is a chance there. That game against the Sharks, we lost by a point, with Pimpy going in over the corner very late on, but again, that was a complete performance, and we are playing more complete now. There seems to be that cohesion between the forwards and the backs that hadn't been there, and probably, should have been there a bit earlier. But end of February onwards, that win in Cork at Musgrave Park against Munster kind of, I think, started to swing the pendulum more towards us being more cohesive. But the fact we're in the top 8, I think we've got nothing to lose, and we can go down there and give them a bit of a fright, because we've got the potential to do that, and we beat them in the last game. So it's all about these little mental 1%, I think, that can sometimes swing the game in your favour.
The Bulls will be favorites, but anything can happen. Also, Adam's talking about feeling sad about losing Marcel Coetzee. How do you think I felt when he left the Sharks for Ulster?
Well, to be fair, that was like back. Well, I love the Sharks because we just sign all of our good South Africans from you. We've got Louis Ludic, Ruin Pinar. We had Marcel.
Ruin Pinar.
There's
the streets won't forget.
Oh no, streets won't forget Ruin. I think he's actually signed on this shirt. I think it's that one there. It's a signature.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah.
What's he doing these days? He's not still at the Cheetahs, is he?
Is he not coaching with the Cheetahs?
Yeah, he's coaching. He was playing last season, but he hung it up.
Yeah. What a legend. Anyway, let's.
He has to come back. Sorry.
two games that I apologise we're not going to spend tons of time talking about is Ospreys Lions, or Lions Ospreys, and Zebra Connacht. Look, to all intents and purposes, friendlies. With nothing riding on the games. I think Lions went above Ospreys with that last minute winner. So there was drama there. So I guess for Lions fans, it was exciting. And, if you want to hop on and watch the highlights, I think it would be a decent enough watch and nice enough tries. But obviously the season was done for the two teams beforehand. So not tons to talk about. Like I said, it didn't affect the log.
Although I will say they started Lubella, and he played quite well at fly off. There was no Kate Volater and there was no Gio Lombard. It was the last game for Marius Lowe as a Lion. He's going over to the Sale Sharks. Another Horn brother played off the bench, Leighton. So that's a third Horn brother in the Lions team. So that is your cut price Barrett influence there.
Yeah. I just want to see who actually scored for the Ospreys. Sam Parry scores a lot of tries. It's crazy. James Ratty, I think, a very underrated player in Wales. He's a Scarlets fan, and if Scarlets signed him, I'd be delighted. And Jack Walsh, I think, is probably Ospreys player of the season for me. I think he's absolutely class at fullback there, and I wouldn't mind seeing him turn out for the USA in the World Cup in a couple of years. And then finally, Zebra versus Connacht. I'm a little bit sad that Zebra didn't manage to get another win to kind of round off
likewise
record-breaking season for them. I guess Adam, we've kind of done Connacht to death on this pod.
Yeah.
Just a nothing season from them, really.
Very much so. It's similar to ours, but I think the thing with Connacht is that they won the league a couple of years ago, didn't they? So they now have
2016. It was quite a long time ago.
yeah, but they still won the league earlier on than we did. So but yeah, I think for Connacht it's one of those finding themselves seasons. Josh Owone is one of those fly halves that's very much like Marmite with Connacht fans, it seems, online, because they just don't really know what he's going to do next. You need a fly half in Connacht that can get used to the Galway win like that. He didn't really get used to it. You've got players that play for them that are very good, like Prendergast, who's going to have a great tour. I reckon he's going to be on the plane for Ireland in the summer. It's weird, Connacht. I think you have their three best players being Aki, Hansen, and Beelum, and you'd say that those are the ones that are needing to they're always away with the Ireland squad as well. So topsy-turvy, a rebuilding season, much like ourselves, but it shows that there's a big issue.
And then they're not. I don't know how old Hansen is, but they're not the youngest players either.
No,
Aki's 34 now, isn't he? Beelum will be 33 or 34.
Beelum's about 33, I reckon.
I'll throw it out there, but I don't think Aki, Beelum, and Hansen had the best club season this year at all. I didn't see them go above. I didn't see them play Irish standard for
No.
Connacht. And I think when those three don't click, Connacht are pretty blunt. I think there's, apart from Caolan Blade maybe at 9, Hanrahan, he's an okay 10. That's about it. I'd say that's probably it. And apart from that, wasn't much to see.
He's a league standard 10. Like I think with Bundyaki this season as well, it's really weird. Like when you think that he's slowing down, then he comes on for Ireland in the Six Nations and topples over everyone. Like he seems to find an extra gear, but I think we're starting to see the slowdown of Bundy. Whether or not like he might make, I think he'll make the test team, but it's just such an interesting thing because there was a whole talk about Bundy possibly leaving during was it this season or was it last season? There was that hanging over Connacht. There was Mike Hansen just being injured for most of the season as well. And the likes of Bielam, I think he had a pretty solid international season, but then that's what I mean. Like they're all peaking. It's sort of like the Ian Henderson effect. Like we probably have seen them play more for Ireland in the last couple of seasons than for Connacht. So that's probably what's going to happen in terms of why they're in that position and things like that. So yeah, and for Zebra as well, I really enjoyed their purple patch in the middle of the season. I didn't less so when they beat us in Belfast, but
Same for me at Edinburgh.
Yeah.
It made the middle of the season interesting, didn't it? And they lost back-to-back games against Benetton, and they should have won at least one of those games.
Yeah, it was the game in the turgid weather, wasn't it? In Armour, I think the second game.
Yeah,
sort of just between that nothing week between New Year's and Christmas Day, when no one knows what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
They gave the Sharks a game in Durban.
Yeah,
we
God,
were playing,
people will forget that as well. Imagine they won that.
Yeah, we were playing dumb tactics. We came into the game and were like, okay, we're gonna throw. Yeah. Who would have thought we were gonna throw the ball around? And then Zebra was just like, okay, you're gonna throw the ball around. We'll just be here when you try and pass it. And it happened like 3 times, and they kept having huddles, and they were showing the huddles on TV. And I was like, is anybody going to tell these guys, like, let's just play forward rugby for a bit, get the score up a little, and then throw the ball around? Like, no, we're just going to throw the ball around, and we nearly lost the game. So yeah, it was very frustrating to me.
Yeah. It's a typical sort of Italian style rugby, though, of them going, we can pick up on something that's not normal, like the offside rule a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Just classic
under Conor O'Shea, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, then. So, Ben, have you got enough time to go to quarterfinal predictions with us?
Yeah, I've got a few minutes, yeah.
All right, okay. You threatened to cordon us off. Policeman Ben threatened us all with arrest if we didn't finish on time, but here we are.
Did not threaten anyone with arrest.
Oh, is that low? Can you not say that?
That's a disclaimer. We've got to be careful.
Okay, all right, sorry. Okay.
I reckon I threatened detention, Ben.
Yeah. Game one, Glasgow versus Stormers. Again, I feel like I've seen this movie before. Stormers, you'd say, are in better form, but I want to say that's padded out by who they've been playing and where they've been playing them. I do feel like Glasgow is still the better team over the course of the season, but it's just Glasgow are just in a bit of a rut, Ben.
A little, but Tupelotu is back, and if Scott Cummins is back, and both Vegas, I don't think Matt Ferguson's going to make it back at all now, but Xander might be back. I think he's just nursing a calf issue. I think the key thing is Manny Libic is going to be going up to Glasgow with nightmares after last season. So whether whether they go for Sasha Feinberg, Montgomery Zulu, I don't know, but I probably would.
But without Willemse, if Willemsen's banned, then it'll be Sasha at 12, and then. But Sasha played in the game last year as well and didn't kick, because I remember that. Because I remember watching the game thinking, give the ball to Sasha. And they didn't. So, for God's sake, Dobbo.
I think it was also just weather. The weather was horrible that time as well, right?
Yeah, but George Horn nailed 4 or 5 kicks, and Libic was 0 from 4 from memory. So like you've got to be there and be out on. Be your kicking tee out there a good few hours before, the day before, the morning before, whatever.
Yeah.
If you know the weather's coming. I think Glasgow, for most teams, have too much at Scotstoun. I think with Tupelotu back, I'd expect a 2-try win. I think 10, 14-point win.
I also think Glasgow's going to win, but I do give Stormers a chance. And what I know for certain is it's going to be an exciting game. Definitely going to watch this.
Yeah. Adam, what's your thoughts on this one?
I reckon Glasgow to win it, but it's the same as everyone else was saying that the Stormers, you can't really say no to any of the South African sides in the ORC, or to
Yeah.
be fair, any of the sides in the quarterfinals at the minute. Being like a carbon neutral, like I don't know, being like a complete neutral to the quarterfinals for like the first time in my life. I'm looking at it going, there could be it could be a shock winner like in every game. On the day. I think Leinster getting beat by Northampton sort of proved that anyone could beat anyone on their day. I know that's in Champions Cup rugby terms, but we know that Leinster can. Well, we'll talk about it in a bit. We'll talk about it in a bit, but yeah, no, I think Glasgow. I think Glasgow would definitely win that.
Yeah. Bulls, Edinburgh. Anybody thinking? I know we kind of spoke about it earlier. I just feel like the business hour Bulls are going to just do the job.
They're going to grind the opposition out, yeah, with a substantially large loose forwards.
Yeah.
I think the main thing for me is that we've made the top 8 after what was a pretty ponderous sort of first 6 months of the season, I would say, and getting that win in Cork.
Both Scottish teams in the Champions Cup as well. Not when
which doesn't. It does tend to be one or the other for the last sort of 3 or 4 seasons. It was us sort of the early 20s. Now it's been Glasgow. Now we're both in it next season. I think it does depend on which clubs adapt to the knockout style better than the rest, because obviously a lot of clubs will set up to get that within 7 or 4 point 4-try bonus point win. That all goes out the window now. So it depends on whether your team is that. Like, if we stay within 3 to 7 points against the Bulls, 65, 70 minutes, we've got a chance. And we do have a few injuries, but we still got a pretty strong side that can go down there and give them a bit of a fright. And they have been close games historically. I don't think there's been a wide margin for a good few years between the Bulls and Edinburgh in any of their games. So we have a chance. It's knockout rugby, and I'm just happy we're there. After what I thought was going to be a pretty chastening season, but we got there.
Everybody else think the Bulls are going to win?
Yeah, I think Edinburgh going in with nothing to lose makes a pretty dangerous, setup. We've been talking about how good Darcy Graham has been. They've got flashes of really good players in there. But yeah, I think like Bulls will win it. But I didn't see Edinburgh rolling over for them. As Ben said.
Yeah. Leinster Scarlets. So
this is what I want to see as an upset, definitely.
So from a Scarlets point of view, all I'd say to the boys if I was talking to them is like, just don't die wondering, just go for it. It's the Scarlets Leinster is a bit of a Pro 12 rivalry.
Yeah.
People don't realise, like 10 years ago, Welsh teams used to beat Leinster all the time. It's actually Leinster haven't always dominated the Celtic League.
The John Barclay era. Yeah.
Of course, flashbacks to 2017, beating them with 14 men at the RDS. Yeah. And
you're there on merit, Hugh. Like, that's the thing. Yeah, you've had a good season. You're there on merit. Like, don't go there just sort of to show up. Like,
we've beaten them once already.
You've beaten them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just like respect to go there, making them take you seriously, and just focus on yourselves. That's what I've liked about the Scarlets this year, is that we focus on ourselves. We never worry about the opposition. We never worry about what's going on all around us in Welsh rugby, which is a lot.
But
you've got no players going on Lions tour either.
Yeah.
Leinster players might be looking for that Lions tour, that first 10 against Argentina. They'll be desperate to put on a Lions shirt for a home game in Dublin, the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
In the Lions history from 1887, 1888. I have to look at my shirt, but it's around that time. It's a good 135 years of Lions existence without a game ever been played in Dublin. So, there might be a couple of players that look to that game and, just don't show up. And you only have to be 5-10% below your level against any side in the URC for it not to work out. And 4 or 5 are doing that, and you've got to shout. And Scarlets have got nothing to lose, a bit like us going down to Pretoria. So just bloody go for it.
Yeah, it's very similar. But I mean, like, some of the key issues are like, is Jody Barrett going to start on the bench? Are Leinster going to have a hangover from the Champions Cup final? Oh, wait, sorry. Forget I said that.
Go on, Adam.
I think Jody Barrett will start every game now. I think with Leinster, Leinster have this like machine, and it's quite terrifying that they could probably rest some of the lads in their squad and still like churn out wins. I think when I went down a couple of weeks ago to watch Ulster Leinster in the Aviva, and they had a bench of Dan Sheehan, Andrew Porter, Tag Furlong, and RG Snyman, and RG Snyman only played 20 minutes and they got taken off again. I was like, Leinster just have this big system of churning out players and going, you know, remember them or look at that, they're scoring again. I think Scarlets, as everyone said, it's the same with Edinburgh. They've got nothing to lose. And didn't Scarlets not beat Leinster? Well, it was a Pro 12. It was a Pro 12 like final in the Aviva. There's shades of that, and we know that Leinster in knockout games, certainly over the last couple of years when they haven't really won much, they tend to go a bit cold. Whether they're going to go cold in the quarterfinals or the semis or the final, we don't know yet. But I feel like it's just sort of a Leinster thing to do at the minute. They don't have
It's 4 years without winning something, isn't it? They've not won the URC. They've not
exactly.
won in Europe. They've got obviously two finals, and lost both of those to La Rochelle, and then
But
to lose the three finals. So yeah, it's
they've got very cold feet. Like they just don't show up in those big sort of games where there's a little bit of pressure, and all the eyes are going to be on this now. I think if they were in the Champions Cup, I would have said Scarlets could have had a chance to like roll them over if they would have won the Champions Cup, because to Leinster, they've got so many leagues in their history. It's Champions Cup or nothing almost for
getting
some
that additional star on that shirt, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're just hungry for another star, but and that's probably why we haven't seen them win the league, the URC as it is now. That's probably why we haven't seen them win it yet. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. There could be an upset there.
You love to hear it. Scarlets by 5 says everybody on the podcast. Right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sharks versus Munster. Sharks versus Munster. I think we can all agree that rugby was the loser. So what is going to happen in this game? Because by God, whoever wins it is going to do it in an annoying way.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, I hope. You want to go first, Adam?
Oh no, don't
I
you.
hear that.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, obviously, I hope the Sharks win. It's going to be tough. Our choices were Stormers or Munster. I prefer to play Munster, but I understand that it's going to be a tough game. From the Benetton game and fly over when they feel like it. They'll have more time to prepare, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. Whichever opponent we were going to get, this is going to be a close game. I hope we win. We'll also have some players back as well. Yeah, very similar to the first game we just spoke about in terms of like Glasgow. I think, and Stormers, I think this is going to be an entertaining game. Maybe not as much throwing the ball around, but we'll see lots of like forward bashing and stuff like that. Yeah, I can't write Munster off. They won the URC in South Africa, in Cape Town. But that was mostly thanks to Joseph Dueba sort of jinxing the Stormers.
Yeah. Well, that's it, Adam. Munster, you just wouldn't put it past them, would you?
Munster, like in knockout rugby, sort of go hand in hand. That I think as well, there's a lot of emotion with Munster because they've got three of like their longest serving, servants, like with Stephen Archer, Pio Manny, and Conor Murray, all leaving or retiring at the end of the season. I think there's going to be
last dance situation, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's
Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. Yeah,
exactly. And I think they've won it before, and I think as Peter O'Mahony is such a legend in those parts, the same as Archer and the same as Murray. I think they're going to try and go for it. Like I think with like as we said, like it's the first time with three Irish teams not in the quarterfinal. We've only got two. I think if Munster prove what they can do. I think Sharks this season have been so weird to watch in terms of like we went 19-0 up against them a couple of weeks ago, then they pulled it back in the first half, in the second half. I feel like you can't really afford that to do that against Munster. I think that they can just sort of pounce on it.
And they'll turn the screw. Yeah, they've got that now.
Yeah.
So I think there that other sides maybe don't have.
Oh yeah, they do. But if as we say, it's Sharks in Durban as well. Like it's quite it's such a stadium that the same as every South African team, they will Munster will fly there. They will have air miles on their legs. Knockout rugby in South Africa is always difficult. But we've seen it happen before, and as Muhammed said, like they did win a URC in South Africa. So I might say there's a shock there. So yeah.
I'm saying less than 5, but I'm not sure which way it's going to go. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's got the potential to be the closest game of the 4 for those reasons. Then Munster's got that victory in their DNA. I know the Sharks beat Gloucester in the Challenge Cup last year at Tottenham. Got to go to that game. It was a very good game, but they didn't have a great domestic season last year. So I don't know.
The Sharks knockout rugby as well, though. Like we saw with the Currie Cup, we've seen with the Challenge Cup. The South African Shields champions, I know that's not knockout rugby, but it's like they just... Yeah, like I said, whoever wins this is going to win it in an annoying way, and I wouldn't put it past the winner of this making it to the final as well. Just that being the way that it goes.
I'd like to reiterate what our former colleague Caolan Scully said. Also, I really rate Craig Casey. He's a good player. So, like, I'm not going to write off any team that's got that guy and Jack Crowley in the team. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm really looking forward to it. So this is what's really exciting is that URC knockout stages are must-watch television.
Oh yeah,
I think you could get 4 very different quarterfinals as well. Yeah. I think there's a potential there for no 2 games to be identical or similar in style. I think you've got 8 very different teams there, and very different quarterfinals to what we've probably had before. I think. I think that goes without saying. So obviously Scarlett's been there for the first time since the inception of the URC, if I'm right, Hugh. I think, isn't it?
Right.
So I think just having another team in there that's not been there just throws up potential surprises and upsets, and I'm just really excited for it. 2 weeks time, it's going to be a really good weekend.
Oh yeah, I think that's the beauty of the URC. It's such a great league where that happens, where that can afford to happen.
When it all happens, you can catch all of the reaction with us here. So if you have gotten to the end of the podcast, make sure that you do like and subscribe if you're not already, and check us out on the audio version. Share links with friends, give 5-star ratings, and all those good things. That just leaves for me to say thank you to the new lineup of Adam, Ben, and Muhammed.
Cheers, thank you.
And
see you later,
enjoy
boys.
the rugby, and I hope everybody's team wins.
That was the United Rugby Rewind. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.